Everybody and their mother's going after expireds. Okay, you have to stand out. So I make a letter, and at the bottom of the letter, I say the ball's in your court, and I leave a tennis ball with that letter.
Welcome into the Dynamis Podcast studios this week, guys. We have a special treat. We are on the road. It's the first time that we are recording this podcast on the go, so it's kind of fun and interesting. We're out here in beautiful Laguna Beach, California, on a beautiful sunny day with the beach right behind us. And as soon as we're done recording this episode, we're going to go down and hang out in some waves and sand and soak up the sun. It's a nice change of pace from cloudy Seattle, Washington. But I want to welcome into the studio a gentleman who has been in the real estate industry for over 34 years, got his start in 1989, door knocking, hustling, just beating the streets, and has really put in the work, sown the seeds over time that has really paid off and started growing fruit. And his name is David Arcudi, who works for Rodeo Realty, and I'm just stoked to have him in the studio today. So Dave, welcome.
Welcome, Tim. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I have a unique connection with Dave. He's my uncle. So Dave Arcudi is my uncle, and I grew up watching him as a little kid just do these things, these fundamentals. Every single time I was with him, he was always selling. He was always telling people what he was doing. He was always in sales mode. And when I was young, I didn't pay much attention to what he was doing. But now that I'm in the industry myself, and I realize that, you know, the stories that we tell, how we carry ourselves, sales, we're selling every single day, and how important and powerful sales are, I've really started to key in on some of the fundamental things that he's done over time. And I've grown interested in what he differentiates himself as in this industry. And we're going to get into a lot of really fun old school techniques that really, you know, you can't bypass. I think a lot of people today in today's sales markets, they try and take shortcuts, or it gets flashy, but what you're doing are fundamentals.
Right.
They're base hits, and they pay off.
You know, old school. People want to know. You got to be out. The more you're in front of people, the more you're seen, the more listens you get. My wife and my kids get so mad at me when I go to the grocery store. I know every checker's name at every grocery store. I know every gas station attendant's name at the gas station. At McDonald's, I know every McDonald's worker there because, hey, they will buy too. You know, the way I look at it is castles to cottages, or cottages to castles. Every one of those will bring money into your pocket. So whether it be the janitor at the school where my wife works at, his son's going to be buying a house for me pretty soon because, yeah, I respect everybody. And you always talk to everybody, find out their names, find out their kids' names, find out when their birthday is, wish them a happy birthday every once in a while. You know, when you see them, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever they celebrate. As long as you show them respect, they're going to come back to you.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting technique because so many people don't put a personal touch like you do. And man, people really just crave that authentic relationship today. And so last year, the reason that I wanted to bring you in is because, number one, what you're doing is becoming old school. People aren't doing it anymore.
Right.
And number two is what you're doing, these old school techniques are paying off. Last year, you were a top producer in your brokerage.
Yes.
And you work in a higher net worth area. You work in Calabasas, California.
Correct, yes.
And you're competing with teams that are top producing teams, and yet you're consistently stealing, or not stealing, but winning deal flow from these top producing teams because of these little fingerprint touches that you put on every deal.
That's correct. Always, like the new listing I just took, I told the people, look, you're an elderly couple. You're going to be have to get rid of some stuff. So I'll do a garage sale for them once we're in escrow, and anything left that they didn't get rid of that they don't want, we'll either donate it to Goodwill or something. If they don't take it, I'll get a dumpster, put it in their driveway, and we'll just dump it for them. Yeah.
But more than that, it's the education of you explaining to them so let's actually break this story down. So you were telling me the story that you're in Calabasas. There's two top producing teams that was fighting for this one particular listing. It's about 1.3 million.
Yes, 1.4.
1.4. And so obviously everybody's competing for business. They shopped this listing to 2 other brokerages.
Right.
And they ultimately went with you. And they went with you for what reasons? There was a couple things that you told me. You weren't a team, so every time they called,
they talked to me.
They talked to you directly.
Yes.
Not a secretary.
Not a secretary, not a team member. It's me. If they have questions, people have questions, they want to speak to the person who's handling it. Another thing I told them is I'm working for them. They're not working for me. A lot of agents think that you are their boss, but in reality, they're hiring you to sell their house.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing that you said stood out to them was you're very involved in the neighborhood.
Yes,
and
very involved.
And where they came from, like neighborhood involvement was a huge thing.
Yeah, every year before COVID, I had an In-N-Out burger truck. I had to shut it down. This was the first year this summer that I was able to bring the In-N-Out burger truck back to the house. And what they loved is they came from an area in New Jersey when they originally moved out here where they would have block parties and social events, and they loved that I had the In-N-Out burger and invited the whole neighborhood. They also enjoyed that every time they walked by my house, there's a million dogs in front of my house, and all the neighbors, and we're always out there talking. Because during COVID, I set up a home office in my garage, lifted the garage door, and every time someone would come by with their dogs, I had a bag of dog treats and give them a cookie. Yeah, so the dogs will sit in my yard, and everyone sits there and congregates and talks. Yeah. I'm always out there and always willing to talk real estate, or not even real estate. A lot of people just want to talk, and and they'll remember that you're in real estate.
And the other thing that you told me that won the deal is just like you were talking about the garage sale, and to like provide some clarity. You walked the property with them and said, hey, there's a lot of stuff in here. This is a lot of heavy lifting. And, I don't think you're fully understanding the workload that's required to move.
Right.
And you offered to show up and personally run the garage sale for them.
Yes,
You're going to sit out there.
I'm going to run it for them. And I also told them that if they put their furniture for sale on like Craigslist or whatever out there on Facebook, if they want me to be there while someone comes along and wants to look at the furniture, I'd be happy to be there for them.
Yeah, and I think like those little details, I know. Yeah. They told you that's what won the deal.
That's right.
So here's a $1.4 million escrow.
Right.
And you won the deal from 2 very competitive Calabasas top producing teams because David Arcudi, the guy sitting in his farm, being personable, doing things in the neighborhood, putting his fingerprint on each of these touches, answering the phone, that's who they wanted to work with.
That's right.
And I think like how powerful is that to highlight right now in this market where there's all this hysteria, it's twice as competitive, maybe more.
Oh, it's more than twice competitive.
Yeah.
Everybody and their mother has a real estate license. I even joke that my gardener has this real estate license because he probably does. There's a lot of people out there that thinks real estate is an easy job, and it's not. You got to work. You got to be out there every day pounding the payments. You got to be with people. You got to be real. Be yourself. Don't be afraid to be real. You're not going to get every listing all the time, but you know what? You're out there. You're just working hard. And the way I learned how to sell real estate is back in the day, there was no trainers. There was no people out there training you what to do, how to do it. They said, there's the ocean, look, there's the sharks, jump in and learn how to swim. And I joke around. I tell people that I always ask the hottest looking girls out in high school, and for every 20 no's, I got 1 yes. So that's why I tell people I'm in real estate, but it's true. You have to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Be yourself. Don't lie to people. Let them know the truth. Tell them how they are.
This is something that I have always known about you. And in fact, there's moments in time where I'm like, Uncle Dave, you can't put the things that you're putting on your Facebook. Like, this is your professional account and your clients are going to see it. You've always been your authentic self, always, my whole life. You're not afraid to razz people, to tell jokes, to say things that are a little bit uncomfortable.
That's right.
Because people remember you. And I remember when I reached out to you on Facebook and I was like, hey, are you sure you want to put this on Facebook? You responded to me, my clients love this.
Yes, they do.
And it just drove home, like, it's the same thing that I teach about social media is like, you have to be your authentic self because it's going to attract people that want to transact with you. And it's going to filter the people that you don't want to do business with anyway.
That's right. We don't get along with everybody. Okay. Not everyone's going to like you. That's fine. Hey, you have tough skin. You're okay with it. You're cool. You're good. But be yourself. Don't be fake. There's so many people out there in this business, in all businesses, that, they're just like maybe the hard salesman or the car salesman. Don't be that way. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And if they don't like you, fine. There's more. Like I said, there's 100,000 other realtors out there. Let them go. They're going to be difficult to you. Don't be afraid to say no to somebody. I've fired clients before because we did not gel on the same thing. So, and when you fire a client, most times clients fire you and they look at you like, you can't do that. It's like, oh yeah, I can. If I'm sorry that it didn't work out. And I also, in my listing agreements, I give a thing called a put up or shut up clause, where everything I tell you I'm going to do, I put in writing. And if I don't do it, after I take a 6-month listing, after 90 days, you have the right to cancel with no obligation. Because I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. Be real. Don't lie to your clients. Never lie to your clients.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're good about doing what you say you're going to do. My earliest memories of you are you would hand out to everybody that you came across, you would hand out these notepads.
Right.
Back then, people had landline phone lines.
Right.
And you would give everybody these notepads and you would constantly hand them out. And I said, Uncle Dave, do you think that works? I was like a little kid. And you responded to me, yeah. He goes, you said, the truth is that 99% of these people are throwing these pieces of paper away every single day. But you know what? They're going to see my face every time they go and take the trash out and put my face in the trash can. And maybe 10 years from now.
Yeah. I mail 3 times a month. Okay, I do a flyer.
How many letters are you sending 3 times a month?
790 letters a month.
790 letters 3 times a month.
Right. Then I go door knocking 1 time a month. And my farm is not nice. It's not flat.
Well, let's talk about this. So what do you mean your farm? Because this is another concept that I learned from you when I was a little kid. You always talked about your farm.
Right. A farm is a geographical farm where you live. I picked the area where I live because if you know the area, you can sell the area. It's where it's every home in your neighborhood that you pick, and you go door knocking. People don't want to talk real estate when you come to their house. They get very defensive. So, COVID I took off. I would just drop. Now I'm back to door knocking again, and I knock on their door, and they're like, oh, we haven't seen you in a long time. I'm like, well, I thought you might need some paper. And I hand it to them. And, again, as Timothy knows, I call it as it is. And each person you go to, you have to change. Like if they're an A-type personality, you can't mess around with them and say, hey, I'd like to give you paper. Let them bring up real estate to you. Make sure you know everything that's sold in your neighborhood. Make sure you know all about the models in your neighborhood. Knowledge is the best key. A little bit of knowledge. You don't need to know everything, but if you know a little bit, it can take you far.
Yeah, and then just consistently hitting that farm. To go back, you were explaining your farm.
Yeah.
And why this is going to be, what your farm is going to be important is because we're going to start illustrating like how you work your farm.
Right.
But you live in the hills of Calabasas.
Oh, yes.
And every street is a hill, up or down or up or down.
Yes. It's fun going down, but coming up is a pain.
And you're working it. You're pounding the pavement.
Right.
Knocking on doors, handing out letters, handing out flyers, knowing your clientele. And your farm, you literally have planted seeds consistently in your farm.
Correct.
My entire life.
Yes.
My childhood memories are working the farm with you, door knocking, doing holiday events. We'll get into that in a minute, but you plant these seeds. So talk about these mailers. You send out 798.
3 times a month.
3 times a month.
Right.
And what kind of return rate are you getting on those?
Probably like 20%.
20% response rate?
Yes.
And from those responses, like how many deals are you snatching up?
4 a month for a year.
4 a year from letters?
4 or 5 a year, yeah. Yeah, I mean, not everyone's going to use you. What happens is if they pass away, the kids use their friends. You understand that. So you have yourself a little pity party, you get upset, and you jump back on the horse. How many times I've heard from my wife, why are you doing the In-N-Out burger truck? why are you mailing all out so much? And you know why? Because 8 months ago, I did an In-N-Out burger truck. Right now, I have a brand new $1.4 million listing.
Yeah, so let's just give the audience some clarity on the In-N-Out truck.
And it's not it's not a quick fix. Most people think I'm going to jump in the door knocking and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and it's going to be right away. No, it's time. It's really a time base. And there's times you don't want to go walking. There's times you don't want to do it. Go out there, maybe 10 minutes, knock 20 doors. When you start talking to people, you get that more energy in you, and you go. I like to talk to people. I am a people person who has to be in front, and then I'm going to tell you, my boss, the owner of my company, Sid, has taught me another thing to go after, which has helped me, is your sphere of influence, all your friends and family, because again, like the clients, they might not remember that you're a realtor, and their friend might be looking. The more you're in front of them, the more they'll use you too, and they'll refer you.
That's something that you're very good at. I mean, I remember taking vacations with you as a kid. We'd be out of state, in a state you've never even been to before, and you're handing out business cards. You're like, Hey, if you ever have anybody looking to buy or sell,
that's right,
let me know. I'll send you a referral, or vice versa. If you have a client, everywhere you go, you collect people, realtors, potential clients, and you file them away in this Rolodex. So if you ever have somebody that goes to that area, you want to contact in that area.
That's right. That's correct. You have to.
That's a very old school thing to do.
Come on. The news, I'm sorry, Tim, but your generation likes to go through the computer, and there's no, there's no personal, people like personal. Even your guys do. You're like, well, I've met some clients. Okay, give me your number so I can text you. And they're like, no, give us a call. We're okay with calling. And that's unusual for nowadays.
Yeah.
And old school real estate too, which I wish I can get back to, was a contract. I'd sit in front of you at a table, and it was like playing poker. I was like, how much can I get you to come, you and your clients to come down, or how much can I get you and your clients to come up? And people were like, it was a game of poker. My favorite thing was, if it didn't work, I'd close the folder up with the contract in it, and I'm like, you have my phone number. If you decide to sell, please give me a call. If not, congratulations, you just bought your house back. Because I started in a bad market. When I started in real estate in '89, it was not a good market at all. And then it went up, and then 2008 rolled on, and that was another story. But you know what? I was consistent in that too.
So let's talk about the origin of you getting in this business. So it was what year? 1989.
1989.
The market was a little bit in the tank.
It was tanking. Yes.
Your father had recently passed away.
Well, yes.
And you received a small inheritance.
$30,000.
And what did you do with that money?
Back in 1982, when he passed away, interest rates were 20%. I took that money, I stuck it in a money market account where I was making 20% interest on $30,000.
Who taught you to do that?
Actually, my mom.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's surprising enough, she taught me how to do that. She said, stick it in this account.
So you were living off the interest?
I was living off the interest. It paid for my college education. I got out of college free and clear, no loans, no nothing. And, hey, it helped. It really did help.
What got you into real estate?
I was a real estate finance major in college. I did not want to work for 9 to 5 for the man. I wanted to be my own boss. I have the gift of gab. I love to talk. I love to sell. So, hey, and actually my dad was a realtor.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was, so as a kid, I learned how to do sales through him. So
you have this like natural confidence that a lot of people fight to have. Something that surprises me about you is I'm in an environment with a lot of people who are very high performing, top producing, and these people hire performance coaches, mindset coaches. Right. You could walk up to the president of the United States and ask him if he's looking to list the White House. Yeah, I just have never cared at all.
That's a funny story because, your aunt and I used to go to hockey games all the time, and John Candy was there. And this was when I first got into real estate. And everyone says, John Candy, can I get your autograph? I walked up with my business card and I say, hey, John, when you're ready to buy or sell a house, here's my card, give me a call. And it was shocked him because I wasn't asking him for an autograph. I asked him if he wanted to buy or sell a house, and he's like, oh, okay. It was so funny. And, again, don't be afraid. Don't be, again, you have to ask. If you go to Vegas, you're not going to win money if you don't put any money on the slot machine, on the table. Again, if you're single, you're not going to be able to go out with a girl if you don't ask her, or a man if you don't, don't be afraid to approach somebody. People will let you know if they don't want to be approached and talked to. But, start conversation, Again, I tell stories. My kids do not like going grocery shopping with me or my wife because I'm 2 hours at the grocery store because I'm talking to everybody. Everyone calls me the mayor of Calabasas. Everybody knows me because I talk to them. I listen to them, and I get calls. Hey, I'm thinking about selling. I'm looking for this house. All right, let me come over.
I mean, that is true. I remember going with you to take your sons to school. Your kids are younger than us.
Yes.
And I remember going with you to take your kids to school, and all the parents are waiting outside the school for the kids to come out. And what are you doing? You're talking to every single parent there, every single parent. And every one of them knows that you're a realtor because you tell them. You're just not afraid to tell everybody what you do.
But also, too, every one of them, I know about their parents. I know about their husband or their wife. How's so-and-so doing? I haven't seen her in a while. How's your dad doing? I haven't seen him in a while. Always, again, strike up a conversation about family and friends. How are you guys doing? How's everybody?
And you just hit on something that I think really is the secret to your success, because you're in a season of life where you've been planting these fields and this farm for decades.
Right.
And you're at a really cool point in your career where you're harvesting the fruit.
Right.
And you just hit on something that I think is easily overlooked. It's not just that you're out there telling everybody that you're a realtor. You're genuinely interested in people and their stories.
And their family, yeah.
You know about them. You care about them.
Yes.
And people feel a connection when you do that.
Right.
And it's why the things that you do in your farm hit so much further. They hit home much further. This listing that you recently got, it was $1.4 million. You got that listing. You've talked about the In-N-Out truck, but I just want to give the audience some perspective on what you're talking about with this In-N-Out truck. You do this annual event,
right? And
you rent out a hamburger truck to come to the neighborhood,
exactly.
And whoever shows up,
you invite them.
You invite them.
Yeah, I send 780 mailers out. Then I pass out a flyer to their door a week before the event, and we get the people there. It was so great this year. The fire department was on a call down the street, and after it was I guess someone got injured in their house, a medical emergency. So we invited the fire department to come while the paramedics went off to the hospital, and we made sure that the paramedics that we got some burgers too. So it was kind of cool. And I had the city of Calabasas has their own government, and I had a few of the city council members there, and every one of them tell me, why don't you run for office in Calabasas? I'm like, no.
Just because everybody knows you.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly. So it's
but
cool.
From that In-N-Out truck, one of the things that won you that listing was they remember that you do these neighborhood events.
Right.
So that
exactly.
You paid a couple $1,000 for this In-N-Out truck, and it landed a $1.4 million listing.
Right, and it's paid for right now. That means that one listing paid for the whole deal. Yes.
And what else can come from that? But you also do ice cream trucks.
Yes.
You hand out dog treats to people that walk by.
With their dogs, yes.
So you sit in the garage.
Right. I have a home office.
Yeah.
I left the garage. You know what? How am I going to get business in my office? I'm not going to get business sitting in my office. You know what? My boss gets mad at me. I tell her, why don't I ever see you? Well, I'm out there working, and I'll go in, to make calls to my sphere. But the majority of the time, I want to talk to the people in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the fruit is that you're harvesting.
Right.
You're crazy because you've been in the business for, coming up on 40 years. I called you the other day and I said, hey, do you know anybody in Palm Springs area, which is hours from Calabasas, and you're like, oh, I can take that listing.
Yeah. Look, my license is from the Mexican border to Oregon, from the ocean to Nevada. Yeah. Look, I'm down here in Laguna, 2.5 hours away from my house. Remember last summer, I sold a house down here in Newport Beach. Look, I will, if my client is willing to move and willing to have me in their area where they want to live, I'm going to do it.
It's just so surprising to me that here you are, you've been in this business for so long, and you're the guy that's willing to do whatever it takes. Right. You're going to drive the distance no matter what. You were just telling me yesterday, we were sharing a meal together, and you're like, look, I don't care if it's a $250,000 listing or a $2.5 million listing. I'm going to take it. Number one, because these people need help. Right. And who better to help them than me?
Right.
You genuinely care about these people.
I do.
But
I
also
treat you like family.
But also there's you've told me, hey, listen, I've been through cycles where there was nothing.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep.
And so who am I to pass on a $250,000 listing?
Right.
Because who knows when you're going to get fed again. And that mentality, I think when people get into the industry for a little bit, you see all these influencers on Instagram and social media, and they are only doing luxury listings, and I'm only a listing broker.
I'm only luxury listing.
Yeah.
I was given a $2.5 million listing by referral. And the person who bought it was one of these agents from top, what is that, on Amy, that show Top Producer with the Altmans and all those people. And I walked in there like, look, we're not going to play like we're on TV. Let's just have fun and let's just do it. And I was told at the end that it was the best transaction they've had in a while.
Really?
Because again, I'm honest, man. I'm sorry. My fault might be I don't blow sunshine on people. I'm going to tell them as it is. The best. They were the best, though, man. They had, when the inspection day came at that day, I'd never have seen so many inspectors. They had guys for the trees. They had gardeners for the lawn. They had it was 40 inspectors there at the same time.
That is crazy.
And I'm just like, whoa, but it blew me away. But we were able to make it.
Yeah.
And always be, always negotiate. Always negotiate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything, a lot of, again, your generation. When you walk on a car lot, you're like, oh, I like that price of the car. No one negotiates anymore.
Yeah, you are right. I think my generation is less inclined to negotiate, and we're less inclined to have the social skills. People don't know how to interact with each other anymore.
And you have to.
You do.
You have to. Like I say, from cottages to castles are for people, everybody you can get along with. There's nobody I can't get along with. My college son gets mad that I'm friends with all his friends. My high school son is mad that I'm friends with all his friends, because you know what? It's me. I talk. I love to sell. Your sons also get mad at you because you're the dad that wears the T-shirt that says sold here across the chest and on the back with a house, and holding the sold sign, and on the back it says the house is large, and it says looking to buy or sell, called David Arcudi. And they're like, don't wear that, Dad. But hey, look. But that's just who you are. I mean, you start conversations wherever you go. You know what? Where do you get your business? Yeah. When you're at the grocery store, if you wear a name tag or the name of your company or something that says you're in real estate, guess what? People are going to stop you in the store and start talking to you about real estate. Yeah, you're right. People, whatever company you're with, they're going to start talking to you, And if you don't let people know what you're doing, then how the heck are they going to know you? Yeah. I mean, how are you going to make money if nobody knows you? Exactly. I mean, it's like... I think these principles, they translate more than just into real estate, buying or selling or mortgages or anything. Any person out there right now that's listening to this could implement these old school principles into their life and see... fruit over a long time horizon. I think the other thing that is important to highlight that you're doing is that you're not expecting instant gratification. No, there is no instant gratification. You've been doing this almost 40 years consistently. Yep. Knowing that, that In-N-Out truck, you're like, well, maybe I'll get a listing out of that next year or the year after. Yep. But again, look, I've done well. I've done really well, but there's been times, again, like 2008, like all of us, that was a bad year. I mean, 2008, I will say, your sister passed away. My wife almost died because of something she had, and I stopped. And my manager now called me on the phone. He says, I love you. You've always been one of my favorite realtors in the Valley. Meet me at Western Bagel. And I'm like, okay. He goes, what will it take for me to get you at my office? And I said, so I threw out something really stupid and ridiculous, what I thought. And out of his mouth came, okay. I'm like, wait a minute. Did I negotiate too low? He's like, no, we made the deal.
No, we made the deal.
Yeah. So, that was 11 years ago, but I had been doing it, look, I have trained agents. In my years, I worked at Berkshire Hathaway, and I trained agents, new agents in the San Fernando Valley, and they're very successful. And it's fun to see the people that I've dealt with. You just believe in yourself, go out there and do it. It's not going to be today. It's not going to be tomorrow. You will know, you will get it. The more you're out there in front of people, the more you're going to get listings.
I want to talk about a couple other things that you do that I think are really unique,
right,
that nobody else is doing. And I'll just go through them kind of quickly. Since I was old enough to remember, every 4th of July, how many American flags do you order every year?
I order 1,000.
1,000 American flags.
We pass out 700. My farm is 790.
Yeah.
I keep the rest. Since the fireworks show is right down the street, I walk down the street and I give the people flags.
Every single year, the entire farm in Calabasas, your 800 homes in your little farm,
right,
every single year you walk the streets and place flags in people's front yards every
right,
single 4th of July. People look forward to those flags. And when
yes,
you drive through your neighborhood, it's
flags.
Littered. Every single household has a flag in front
Right.
of it.
And you get some people who don't like it, and that's fine. Again,
Yeah.
you're not going to please everybody.
But how long have you been doing that?
Oh, God. Probably about 25 years.
25 years. Every single year, people know that David Arcudi,
They expect it.
they expect these American flags.
One year, my neighbor called me up and he said someone else is passing out flags, and they were mad at the person. Their daughter, who was like 8 years old, was mad at him, yelled at him because they were putting him next to mine.
Really?
Yeah, that's funny.
So people have tried to steal your marketing.
Yeah,
techniques.
but it doesn't work,
Here's another thing that you do that I think is really interesting. When you want a listing and you're negotiating with a seller, you'll leave a tennis ball.
Yeah. Oh, no. It's not when I go on a listing. It's when I'm going after an expired listing.
Oh, an expired listing.
Expired listing. Okay, you know what? Everybody and their mother is going after expireds. Okay, you have to stand out. So I make a letter, and at the bottom of the letter, I say the ball's in your court, and I leave a tennis ball with that letter if they don't open the door.
As a little visual, balls in your court.
Ball's in your court.
And you got that inspiration from?
Back when I started in real estate, there was an agent who would say, don't miss the boat, and we'd give a little boat.
Don't miss the boat, and he'd hand out a little boat.
A little boat.
I just think that's so creative.
Yeah. You can't reinvent the wheel. You just got to make it look better.
Yeah, you just got to make it look better.
Yeah, it's something that nobody does, but you go there. Look, every realtor who's going to be watching this knows if you go after it expired, there's 1,000 agents right there.
Yeah,
right then and there. And after you go after them the first time, don't stop. 2 weeks later, make sure you get it. Make sure you keep
follow up.
Yeah, you have to follow up because look, they're taking everything you give them in the blue can, in the recycle can. It goes.
The recycle can, yeah.
Yeah, and you can't. You gotta, because what will happen is agents will do a little off, and the more, again, it's not instant gratification.
Right.
You got to know that the more you're in front of them, the more chance you get of getting that listing.
You told me right before we started recording this podcast a story that I thought was so interesting, and it just spoke to how you're able to generate business consistently through market cycles. And even now, like when COVID hit,
right,
everything shut down, and you told me the story, you're sitting in your garage and you're thinking to yourself, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money? How am I going to produce it? And tell the story.
Well, first of all, I thought, oh God, what am I? I've been through really good markets and bad markets, but this is nothing. Nobody has really ever, what do you do? A pandemic, everything's shut down. What are you going to do? Is the market going to crash? I decided, look, I'm going to take my boat and head for the biggest wave and go over that wave. So, I thought nobody wants to go grocery shopping, and here I am, a person who says, look, I'm not going to get COVID. I'm okay. I'm cool. So I wrote a letter to everyone in my farm, and I told them that if they needed any groceries from the store and they were afraid to go, just give me a call. I'll pick up the list from in front of their house. I'll go to the grocery store for them. I'll go shop. I'll put the groceries on their front yard with their with their receipt, and I'll the next day I'd come by and pick up a check. That was before they would have Uber Eats,
Right.
Uber grocery stores, because this was COVID, And then about 2 weeks later, the owner of my company decided we would have meetings every day, Zoom meetings every day, to see what we could do to get through COVID. And his company succeeded, and the agents who went to his meetings did well.
Yeah.
It was like, and then of course, everyone's like, "Oh, the market's going to crash. The market's going to crash." And no, I was in escrow. I was literally in escrow 2 days before they shut everything down here in California.
Yeah.
And the guy backed out, said, but my clients who are in Arizona right now will tell you, we fought tooth and nail for them to get them the top dollar, and we got them right about the price that we were in escrow for before COVID came.
I just think it's incredibly creative that you thought to yourself, what am I going to do? I'm going to mail my farm.
Right.
And tell them, oh, I'll go get you groceries if you're scared to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Who does that? It's just very unique and it's very creative.
Again, you can't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
You just have to make it bigger and better. And you have to make it work for you.
Yeah.
My mind is always thinking, where can I get my next deal? Who can I talk to? Because again, like I said, there's so many realtors out there.
Yeah.
Be genuine, be real, get out there and see what you can do. Look at what's going on. When the fires came through Calabasas, right? My wife and I talked to the football coach. And we said, we want to do a thing called Pass the Helmet. And we collected money for all the people who lost their house in Calabasas, and we donated the money and the gift cards that we got to the people who were running the collection for people who lost their house. You gotta, again, we're part of the community. You gotta be out there to help the community.
Yeah.
So if a major disaster helps, figure out what you can do to help with them. Yeah.
Well, you told me another story about how you won a listing during COVID. This person was giving you some resistance, and you went and explained to them, like, listen, you don't understand the regulations. You got to have these booties, and there's got to be these cleaning.
Yeah. I went to Costco and I bought all this cleaning stuff. And to go show a house, the realtor had to stand outside while the other realtor was in there. Yeah, those people. Yeah, that was fun.
But that's what got you the deal, is because you were like, man, these people aren't budging. They don't want to list their house. They're gonna either do it themselves and you highlighted how much of a pain in the rear end it was going to be for them, and you showed your expertise and your willingness to do the work. And I just think, look, a lot of people right now are skipping the fundamentals that you're doing. You're calling your sphere, you're farming, you're sending mailers, you're door knocking, you're being unique, you're standing out, you know people's stories, you're being personable, and it's making you stand out. And I just want to congratulate you for years of being prudent and really genuinely caring about.
You got to, again, treat people the way you want to treat people.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Don't be fake. You don't have to be fake for anybody.
Yeah.
You have to go out there and just do it.
Yeah.
And again, people like real. They don't like fake. There are some people, again, you're not going to get every listing.
Right.
And sometimes there's a listing that I thought I had and I've lost. And look, I kicked myself in the butt. But I try to figure out what I did wrong, and I readjust it.
Yeah.
And you have to believe in yourself. Always know that it's not you and you can do better.
Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure listening to you and just learning from your stories and the things that you're doing, the things that are working. If people want to get a hold of you, they want to get in touch with you, they want to follow up with you, where can people find you?
You can find me, look, I'm at Rodeo Realty, Woodland Hills. My phone number is 817-857-9805.
How can we find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter, Arcudi for Homes at AOL.
That's Arcudi, ARCUDI, the number 4, Homes.
Yeah, and Facebook is David Arcudi.
And I'll put all his information in the show notes below. it's been so much fun listening to these stories. It's really inspirational. It makes me want to go start doing things outside the box.
Well, you know, we're proud of you, T. Man, you're doing well. You're out there. I was going to wear a backwards baseball cap like he always does. I was told not to by my wife.
Well, listen, thanks for coming by. And Dynamis Studios, if you like this show, if you enjoy this information, if it's helping you get to the next level and improve your life and unlock the true life that you deserve and that you have the potential to achieve, do me a favor, like this show, subscribe, send this show to your friends. Let's get the listeners in and share this information with as many people as possible. As always, I appreciate you. Catch you on the flip side. We will see you next week.